Hello and welcome to In Business Talks 2. We're excited to welcome you to our bonus episode, The Friday Fix, episode 17. We are your hosts, Tracy and Ian Earle, founders of In Business, a networking and business support community. And together we are In Business.
Every Friday we will be discussing a business related subject with either one of our wonderful In Business networking members or a fellow business owner who will be sharing their advice, thoughts or knowledge on a particular topic. Oh, and make sure you listen to the end of the show to hear our guests tell us about their favourite networking tip.
Today's guest is Goodman, Anand, and he will be talking about the importance of delegating for your business. Our guest this week is Goodman, Anand. Welcome, Raj.
Welcome, Raj. Good to have you with us on the show this week.
Oh, good to see you as well. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
So before we start, would you like to tell us just a little bit about what you do, Raj?
Sure thing. So I'm the founder of a company called Goodman. We are a team of native English content writers. We help our customers sell better and grow faster. I also invest in companies. I invest in mainly B2B companies, or what we call SaaS companies, software as a service companies, across anywhere in the world, really. At the moment, mainly in the UK and US, but I invest globally. Really, I'm an engineer who got into marketing. That's what it really is. I mean, I'm a geek who loves marketing. Is what I'll describe
Well, that
myself.
sounds a bit like our daughter.
Yes, it does a bit actually, because she started off doing engineering. Well, she did an engineering degree and then she decided to go into copywriting amongst other things. So yeah, what a strange coincidence that is.
So what are you going to be talking to us today about, Raj?
Well, I'll be talking about the power of delegation. It's the one thing which I saw in my career so far. It's my third business. I sold one company in the past. So I've been around the block actually, sort of started companies, failed, some succeeded. And one thing which I saw, which is common across the success I've seen so far, is the power of delegation. It's like, how do you clone yourself, multiply yourself? How do you actually make yourself more efficient? And I think that's the bit I'm really interested in as a business person, as a family man, because obviously we all have a story, we all have things to fix, things to start, things to end, and we only have 24 hours, of which we obviously are sleeping, we're eating and stuff like that. So how do you delegate our tasks, our life? And that's what I'm really interested to talk about.
Yeah, I totally agree, Raj. As a small business owner, if you're the main person in the business, how do you make the most and the best use of your time? It's not easy to do, is it?
Absolutely. And in fact, I was reading this book. It's called Good to Great. It's about companies, how do good companies become great companies. And the author was saying that there are two different philosophies for company owners. There's one where you have the business owner who delegates really well and is like all about them. Without them being there, they can still lead the company. And then you have the other version where you have the big boss, the big, good, mean, whatever we're going to call it, boss, and the helpers. So that this boss delegates stuff, but even the other boss delegates stuff as well. And both the bosses do really well, but they both need an army of people to help them scale the business up. And that's a very important part, I feel.
Yeah, I suppose to grow your business, if you are going to grow it to any size, then you do need to start delegating. Because like you say, you can't do everything yourself, can you?
Absolutely. I mean, before we started, Ian, we were talking about sort of like getting the editing done, and we've become like an editor at the moment. And I know a lot of podcasters who currently actually outsource the editing part to somebody else because they realize that the main business really is to grow their actual business, to sell, to grow their team, to have the best team members in their company. And if you're doing all these different things, you only have so many hours in a day to kind of get everything done. So delegation works really well.
Yeah. True. I'll bear that in mind then.
Yeah, it's hard to let go when you're in the business, when it's your baby. I know it's hard to offload that. So I guess that's what you're going to be talking to us a little bit more about today.
Yes, and I think, I mean, just looking back into my previous work and even currently as well, the first step to get it right is to first do it ourselves, to really understand the nitty gritty of the actual task, the business, and only then delegate. Because if we don't know what the task really is and how to do it properly, how can we delegate to somebody else who's coming fresh to the actual business and the job as well? So I feel the first task really is to actually do it ourselves, and then as you get a hand dirty, only then bring people in.
So I guess you need to know what you're delegating before you hand it over, really.
Absolutely. And the bit which is really bizarre is that when they come in the beginning, and this, I've read this across several books, is that at best the person who comes in will be at 60% capacity or ability as you can do it as a founder or managing partner or whatever it is that the role is. And at best in the future, they'll be at 80%. So even then, even after, lots of time spent with them, a lot of effort put into it, they'll only be at 80% of your ability as a founder. But that's good enough, because it's not about doing the best for everybody. It's not about perfection. It's about getting things done. And I think for that level of work, 80% is fantastic.
So, so what are your secrets then, Raj? What, if you have any, what are the secrets to delegating?
Yeah, what's your advice?
I mean, obviously, delegation is of different kinds. There are businesses which are online. Some of them are offline. Which are, obviously, you can't delegate. I mean, if you're fishing, for example, that your business was to like go and fish, you can't delegate that to somebody far, far away from you. You have to be somewhere a bit close to you, near shore, as you say.
Yeah.
So I think the first step really is to understand what the real task is. Like, what is the task at hand? What does it take? Can we describe it? And I think the first thing to delegate a task is to build a brief. The task is delegated can only be as good as the brief we create for the person we delegate it to. So delegation, the step one is to build a good brief. Number two is to have an open mind. I think a lot of times we think, all right, so I'm based in London. I'm going to find somebody who's probably in London, maybe in Brighton, but I wouldn't go as far as, say, Leeds, because it's too far away from me. but but I feel actually that after trying this out several times, that actually it works better to delegate it to people who are far away from you, because when they're far away from you, um, as a business owner, you have to make the extra effort to describe the task properly. That you have to describe the ins and outs, the nuts and bolts perfectly, so that the person who's going to get the new task understands and does a good job delivering the actual task. So since then, I mean, my first business which I started, which was a social media software business, a bit like a Facebook clone for large corporations and government. I mean, that failed, and I'm proud to say it actually failed. And the reason why it failed was because I was doing everything. I was coding, I was selling, I was sleeping my business all the time. I was just literally in that zone, and I could never be efficient. I could never be really productive at what I was doing. My ambition is, and something I'm working on, is just to become jobless. Like, I feel that if I am the smartest person in the room or in my company, I'm going to fail. Like, I need to be the dumbest person in the company, because I need to find the smartest people to come in and work for the company, and they all know what they're doing. So that I don't have to do anything. For example, I can go
Sounds like a plan. Sounds
to
like
the
a plan.
Bahamas and have
Yeah,
a
we're
pina
working
colada.
on a plan like that.
Sorry. No, I was just going to say, so what are your plans then? Are you looking to like retire soon, or is that what you're planning to do?
What are you trying to say? We're old, Raj.
Yeah, retire sometime soon, not too far away.
Yeah, so we would like to take a step back from in business. Maybe not completely, maybe work 3 days a week as opposed to 5.
Yeah, that's the general idea.
Yeah, we don't want to give up completely.
No.
Certainly not just yet.
No, not for a long time.
No.
Long term, some of the things that we are doing, delegation definitely is the key, I think. Yeah, I mean, I edit these things, and it takes me ages because it's not my profession. I'm not all that sure what I'm doing, so it does take me a long time. So I suppose eventually I should be handing these things over to someone else, but The problem I have is if I do that, I quite like editing them because I get the sense of what's being said in the podcast from the conversations that we're having, whereas a professional might just chop it here and chop it there, and they might take out some of the bits that I might like to keep in. So I suppose that's why I do it, really.
But going off Raj's advice, you'd need to give them a really good brief, wouldn't you?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, and to say that this is the sense of the podcast and this is how we'd like it to be. So if they have the correct information, as you're saying, there's probably an 80% chance of getting it right.
Yeah, you're probably right. Yeah, maybe I should give it a go then. Maybe I should try it.
So yeah, you've got to release the control. That's the hard thing.
Yeah. So in your opinion then, Raj, why are people reluctant to delegate, do you think?
Well, my experience is that a lot of people want to work in the business, not on the business. And I think that is the actual challenge which most entrepreneurs face who are unable to scale up their company because the focus is so much to kind of have a job for themselves in the business. And that is the exact opposite of like a business. I mean, we all run a business because we have probably had enough of the corporate life. We probably had enough of that sort of going 9 to 5 to work. And my earlier comment about retiring, I mean, there's a philosophy called FIRE, which is financial independence, retire early. It's really popular amongst entrepreneurs because they want to build a business up, scale it up in 3 to 5 years, and then exit the business. That money which they earn from the business, they retire, they live a great life. They still do something which is linked to their previous business or what they enjoy doing, but it's not about to be in the business for a decade or 30 years. It's about get in, scale it up, sell it, and move on.
We'll have to think about that.
Yeah.
I think for a lot of people as well, a business can be a lifestyle business. I think people are happy at a certain level as long as it brings them a decent income and a good lifestyle. I suppose it depends what your goals and your ambitions are in life, really.
And I guess it may depend upon your age as well. I mean, if you're young, then you've got a chance to build up a business, sell it on, start another business. But when you get to our age...
Yeah, not like us old folk, yeah.
We're maybe running out of time.
You guys aren't old at all. You guys seem like, I mean, I don't want to ask your age, but you look as young as I do. So, I mean, we're all in the same.
Oh, that's very kind of you, Raj.
So, Raj, have you got any final thoughts or advice that you can give our listeners today?
Well, I think one thing about like entrepreneurship and business is that if we keep things to ourselves, we're going to stifle the progress for other people. And I'm completely open and transparent about everything I do. I mean, it's all out there. I've talked about it on videos. I've written about it. I speak to people when I speak to them in person as well. So this is no secret. This is all it's an open book. It's all published out there for other people to like read and talk about. I just want to kind of maybe just discuss like the point you mentioned about sort of age-based businesses. So if you're a particular age or age range, or if you feel that you're a particular age, that should run particular business should run in a particular way. I think one book which comes to mind is a book called Built to Sell by John Warlow. He's an Australian author, and his book is all about you build a business to sell it. But what he's trying to say is not sell the business and retire, but to build the business up as if it's going to be sold eventually. So it's about that sort of the mindset of automation and delegation, a bit in line with Tim Ferriss's. Tim Ferriss is this American author who talks about this 4 hours work week. So you only work 4 hours the entire week, and you go and you live somewhere nice and inexpensive, and you live like a king or queen. Is what he's on about. But I think in the entire 4 hours work week book, the bits which I liked the most were automation and delegation, which basically is that if we run the business to be run by us, then if tomorrow we hit by a bus, then the business is done. It's like the business the entire team, all the clients are all going to be basically will not have the output or input from you because you're not there anymore. So I, as a person, feel that it's really helpful to build the company around other people and to hire the best people possible and across the world. I mean, I often believe that we forget about that we live in a global economy and we have huge resources across the world. You know, I've always hired people in the UK and it's better even hired today, but also I'm not shy to hire people in the US or in South Africa, for example. I have a wonderful tech team in India, for example, as well. And I think if you can find the best people with the best skill sets across the world, it's okay to hire them. It's okay to bring them in. It's okay to actually, because if they're coming in, they're helping us save money, and actually the money they save is money which you've earned, and it actually helps the UK economy even further because that we're selling to customers across the world, and we're using the teams across the world, and the profit, the benefit comes back to the UK itself. And I think for local businesses, that's actually a very powerful concept.
Yeah, I think that's been highlighted this past 18 months. We've picked up members from all over the UK.
Which we wouldn't have had because we're Leeds based and now we're networking online. So thank God for Zoom.
Yeah, it's made the whole world an awful lot smaller, hasn't it? Because right now you're speaking to us from Nepal, aren't you?
It has. I mean, at the moment, I am, unfortunately, I would love to be now in London, but I mean, there are no flights from here. It's all in lockdown. It's actually a curfew outside, so we can't even walk outside.
Oh yeah, it's quite bad at the moment over there, isn't it? Are you worried for you and your family?
I think that obviously now it's much better. There was a time when things were scary. My wife had it, my in-laws had it. I mean, it was very scary. But now, touch wood, it's in a much better place, and things are getting better here. But yeah, technology definitely helps. But sometimes you can't travel. When you can't travel, you just can't travel in these days. It's
yeah, but luckily you can still run your business, can't you? That's the main thing. Oh, brilliant! Thanks. That's cool. Is that right?
Yeah, no, some good advice there.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
There. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Now, before we go, we always ask our visitors, our guests, if they would give us one of their favourite networking tips. So, what can you share with us?
well, I was saying earlier, for the last 2 years, I haven't been to a networking event whatsoever. I mean, but I mean, I must say, there used to be a time in my life I should do a lot of networking events. I should go out in London. That time I used to live in Brighton, and I should like travel to London and do networking events like every evening. And I think I got it wrong. The first 3 years, I did a terrible job at it. I was absolutely disastrous at it. And I think the reason why I did that was because I was talking about myself all the time. It's all about me, my business, my problems, my challenges. And like someone in one of the networking events tapped on my shoulder and said, Raj, like I love your story, I love everything you're talking about, but it's not about you. You got one mouth and 2 ears for a reason. You gotta listen more. You really gotta listen to people and their challenges, their story. And that made me think. Like that made me think a lot. I'm like, yeah, it's not about if I want to network efficiently, effectively, I've got to be a good listener.
Yeah, you say that a lot, don't you? That's one of your sayings.
Yeah, I believe that if the secret to networking is what you have to do is get the other person talking. If you can get the other person talking by asking some good questions and paying attention, then at the end of the conversation, often people will go away and think, wow, what a great conversation I've just had with that Ian Earl there. It's been brilliant. But at the end of the day, you've done most of the listening and they've done most of the talking. And the thing is, people, they do like to talk about themselves. So it's you learn lots of interesting things as well if you let people just talk and you ask the right questions.
Yeah.
So I agree totally with you there, Raj.
Thank
definitely. Listening and getting the other person to talk is definitely the secret to networking. Thank you, Raj.
So yeah, good tip there.
Yeah, thank you for that, Raj.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for all your information and thoughts on delegation.
Yeah, it's been really interesting. Thank you very much indeed for joining us
Thank
today,
you for
all the
joining
way
us.
from Nepal.
So I hope you and your family keep safe and take care and goodbye.
Goodbye, Raj. Thanks again.
Thank you, Ian. Thank you, Tracy. I really appreciate it. Bye.
So We're almost at the end of this week's show, but before we go, we're excited to tell you about our In Business Talks 2 episode this coming Tuesday. Our special guests on Tuesday's podcast are Elle and Linda Cloak of We Do Social Media, a mother and daughter duo. We're really looking forward to speaking to them and digging deeper into their experiences as a business partnership.
Thanks so much for joining us this week on In Business Talks 2 Friday Fix. We hope you've enjoyed it, and if you have, all we ask is that you simply tell a friend about the show. We'd really appreciate it. Until next time, this is Ian and Tracy, and together
we are In Business. Goodbye.
Goodbye.